Yo, what's going on, guys? It's Brian and Jim with Drink a Beer and Play a Game, and today we are going to check out Super Dodgeball for the NES.
Originally released in 1987 in the arcades, this is another entry into the Kunio-kun series in Japan, known mainly for games such as Renegade and River City Ransom. It's got a very distinct art style, you'll know it as soon as you see it. Now, this game came out on the Sharp X 68000, PC Engine, and eventually even finding its way to the PlayStation 2. To note, the Sharp X 68000 is damn near an exact port of the arcade game. Pretty impressive. Now, the NES port, which we're going to review today, came out in 1989, and it differs a little bit from the arcade, mainly in the fact that it's got different music tracks, it's got power moves, and it even has a different game mode. Anyway, let's get into it.
Alright, so talking about the graphics, as Jim mentioned, this game is immediately recognizable as soon as you see it. It's got impressive sprites and a lot of detail. Not to mention a shit ton of different animations, including hair being moved, facial expressions, all pretty advanced shit for the NES at the time. However, there is one downfall. With this many sprites and that many animations on the screen, you will see an ass ton of flickering. We would say it's not an issue, however, it really does become apparent. Not just by watching this video, but when you're playing, it can get kind of annoying, so that did drag the overall score down just a little bit. We still really enjoyed it, and the only other major complaint we had, and this is probably really minor, is that other than the American and All-Star sprites, every other sprite in the game kind of looks like a weird caveman. I don't know why that is, but anyway, here's our scores. As you'll see, I gave it a 7, Jim gave it a 6. As far as the beer requirement meter is concerned, I'm only going to add 2, really for our 2 complaints. The flickering and the sprites that look like cavemen.
Alright, the sound. It's a pretty good package. The intro music and the team select music, they're good tracks, but they're very, very short. But they have some nice layering, some good detail. In fact, all the different countries in the game are represented with a different music track as well. That's pretty cool. The sound effects in the game are, they're not anything too special. Actually kind of minimal, but they get the job done at the very least. Brian gave it a 5, I gave it a 6. Maybe not the greatest, and maybe we're a little harsh on it, but still, the sound was perfectly fine. And I'll give it maybe 2 beers just for the tracks getting a little annoying after a while.
Alright, and as far as the control is concerned, we didn't have any major problems because it's very responsive, and once you learn how to play the game, there's really nothing to it. But let me explain with the little issues we did have. First of all, if you're playing against a buddy and one of you learns the controls much faster than the other, it will become an absolute slaughter. Learning little moves like double tapping the direction pad to speed up your guy and then throwing the ball will supercharge it. It can be annoying and it should be obvious, but it's really not. B throws the ball, A passes, but if you hit A and B together, you'll do a jump. And if you're on defense, when you hit B, you catch the ball. If you hit A, you duck. So there's a lot of little subtleties to these control that it doesn't take too long to master, but like I said, if somebody knows them and won't tell you, it can get really annoying. Other than that, we did find that there are times that it seems like the catching the ball is just a little off, because we swear to God that we've caught the ball and then we get hit. Now, I'm sure it's just the booze talking, and it's just us being butthurt from losing a round or whatever. Either way, we really enjoyed the control in this game, and we don't have too much negative to say about it. With all that being said, it's not perfect, but we both gave it 7s. And as far as the beer requirement meter is concerned, I'm only going to add 1 beer, because really, it's the ignorance of the player themselves. However, for a control in our eyes to be really perfect, it should come super naturally, and there should be absolutely no issues.
And the gameplay. Well, to kind of piggyback off what Bryce said, the game really just bottles down to catch the ball, throw the ball, catch the ball, throw the ball, throw the ball, catch the ball. You get the idea. And also, like he said, as good as you are at the control will kind of depend on how much you enjoy the game you're playing. But, like with any good game, there's a learning curve, so whatever, it's all part of the experience. I'm sure it would have been easier if we played, for hours on end, but we got a schedule to keep here, folks. But for what we played, it was good. One complaint about the game, though, is when it gets down to only a few characters left, the game kind of slogs, because If you only have to keep track of one person, it's going to be easier to really time your catching, time your throws, and, well, your opponent can guess what you're going to do a lot easier, so it gets a little bit more methodical at that point, a little bit slower, and after a while it can get almost boring, but depending on how much you like the game, it'll just get even more intense for other people. Also, there's the beanball mode. It basically takes the formula from the main game and throws it into a schoolyard bedlam, where it's a whole bunch of characters all running around trying to get the ball, just throwing it at each other like crazy people. It's fun, it's a nice distraction, couldn't base a full game around it, so good thing they didn't, but you know what? It's not bad, and it's always nice to have that added touch. So, we both gave it 7s, not too much to complain about here, maybe for the lack of variety for the most part, but then again, all the different teams play a little differently, so there's that. I'm gonna add, I'll add 2 beers, just because the late game can get slow.
The originality. I know in some of my other sections I was a little long-winded, but trust me, this will go much faster. So we've never actually seen a game about dodgeball. No, we didn't do extensive research and look up the Atari catalog before this point, but to our knowledge, this is the first major title to involve a dodgeball game. And even if it's not the first, it's the first widely known. So it gets a ton of points there, but other than that, it could have just been as simple as throw and catch. But as Jim and I mentioned, you have super throws, you have jumps, you have ducks, so they went above and beyond and really added a lot more. We couldn't help but give this game 8s, and as far as the beer requirement meter is concerned, you know what? I'm not even going to add any beer to the beer requirement meter. This game did enough to prove its originality to us.
Alright, replayability. You get 3 game modes. You get the single player mode, which can be exhibition or tournament. You get the 2-player mode, and you also get the beanball mode, which can be 1 player or 2 player. You have 3 difficulty settings, which is always good. And you have the 9 different teams that all play differently. So you have a lot of options when it comes to this game. You can spend a lot of time going through, figuring out which teams you like the best, which players you like to use the best. The games don't really take that long in the grand scheme of things, so it's a good pick up and play kind of game too. Overall, the fact that you really just have the one main game type, it's the only reason we didn't give her a higher score in replayability. We gave it 8s, so don't get us wrong. You have a lot of ways to play this game. But if there was just a little bit more thrown in there than just a beanball mode, we probably would have given it higher. I'll really just add a beer. There is a lot here for you to play around with.
Alright, so overall, what can we say? We recognize that this is one of the more popular, obscure sports games for the NES. And in all reality, it's for good reason. We had a ton of fun playing this game. It might not be the best the NES has to offer, but we would gladly pick up a copy of this any day. The fast-paced fun, the different game modes, and just the complete time waster this game can be will really allow you to sit back, enjoy a beer, and just have some fun with your friends. Hell, even if you're really bored and you do just want to play a random NES sports game, it's not that bad to play by yourself. I've beaten the tournament mode by myself, and I enjoyed it. So with all of that being said, the overall combined score came out to a 7.1. I think that really reflects how we feel, because it's well above average, but it's clearly not perfect. So as far as the beer pairing is concerned, we're going to have to go with another Saranac suggestion. We're going with the Legacy IPA. Now, me and Jim, by nature, we're not huge IPA fans. That's not to say we don't appreciate and understand the subtle differences between all of them. However, we really enjoyed this one. It's one of the smoother ones. It won't blast your balls off with hops. There's a nice little bit of citrus to it, and it's really drinkable. So that seems like something that will pair perfectly with this game. Because, as me and Jim mentioned, when it comes down to it, the games will become very tense, and if one of you is just a little too drunk, you're going to lose every time and have a really bad time. So grab at least a 6-pack or 2 of this beer, sit back, and enjoy some retro dodgeball fun with your friends. As always, guys, thanks for checking out this video, and if you enjoyed it, make sure you give us a thumbs up, leave some comments, or better yet, why not subscribe? Till next time, guys, cheers.